channel. I'm out getting set up for my maple tree tapping today. One of the greatest things about the end of winter is that things start to thaw. So today is the start of another freeze-thaw cycle. There was one back in January. It was still a bit early to be out tapping trees. It was going to be a short-lived week and a half or so. I heard up in the Adirondacks of New York, they were tapping. It's great if you're on pipelines or if you have check valves for your taps so that the holes don't close up. If you tap too early, the risk is the bacteria gets into the hole, the tree's healing response tells it to close back up. You end up ending your sap run early. So you might go into April. A lot of people target for March only. It's been so erratic since I've started maple syruping 5-6 years ago that it can be February, March, and April. We're usually done by about the first or second week of April. Last year was absolutely the latest. We were about April 14th or 15th, and I had tapped on Valentine's Day. This section of the yard, I do 5-gallon pails, buckets, with a snap-on lid. The snap-on lids are great because they don't blow away. You can put a rock or a log on top of your bucket if you're in a high wind area like I am, but I have something else for you too. Now this year, in my maple syrup setup, I have an ice fishing sled. It's excellent for loading up your tools, anything that you need for doing buckets on trees, anything like that. We've got about 30 taps total in the front yard. That's a really good little sugar bush to start off in. The first year I did it, I probably put in 12 or 15 taps and just expanded from there. You want a good cordless drill if possible, or a old style hand auger drill. These work really good with the lithium batteries. Mine is a Ryobi 1 Plus, and my daughter actually picked me up a backup battery that was bigger than my standard Ryobi battery through Amazon. So I'll find the link for that for you and put it in the description down below. Now, if you're in a high wind area, these sap bag holders work really great because it just hangs on your spile on the tree. Now, you can use one of these old style spiles. This is a 7/16 spile, and it's got a hook on it for a bucket. You wouldn't use that on there, and you have to kind of finagle it in there. There are new plastic taps that you can use with these also. Probably the best tap you can use is Leader or Sewell. And I have 2 of those in my pocket to show you. This is the Sewell brand tap, and as you can see, you can use them with a bucket. They have a hook on it. A lot of times they get snapped off. I believe these are made of aluminum, and these are a 5/16, I believe. The old style taps are 7/16, and they've actually, through research, found that a smaller hole is better for the health of the tree in the long run. My coat has so many pockets, I get loaded right up. Now, this is a Leader. And you can see, this just sits, this is perfect. No hook for this style. This part goes into the tree, and it goes right on there like that. Now, these are really great for a high wind situation. And this top also serves as your lid to keep any rain or debris from the tree or wildlife out of it. These are really great for sustainability because you can either get these in stainless steel or galvanized. Over the years they've switched them to galvanized, but they're really long lasting. And these bags are replaceable. They're a really heavy grade, BPA free, like polyvinyl chloride I think it is. And it just goes together on a aluminum ring, real easy, and slides in here. So when you're collecting your tree sap, you just come over to the tree, you got your collection bucket, and you pour it right off. It's real simple, real easy to use. Now, This is a great thing for a high wind situation here because it's low profile and that's not going to likely blow off the tree. This is your picturesque bucket and lid that you're probably most familiar with. These lids run about $3 to $4 a piece new, and they just fit on any old style bucket. The trouble with these buckets is a lot of times over years they age. They also found that some of these tested positive for lead in the bottoms and in the seals. So you really want to be careful with buying used equipment. Also over time, I don't know if you can see that, the bottoms of these can rust, and you don't want rusty brown sap. You want to keep your product as clean as possible. This is for food grade collection. You want it as sanitary, as clean as possible. Don't use an old paint bucket. Don't use an old drywall bucket. Those chemicals from those buckets and the products they were in there can linger and taint your sap and syrup in the end, and you don't want somebody coming back and saying that they were sick. My family is eating my syrup, and you can get my syrup off of our Etsy store also. I'll have a link down in the description at the bottom of this video, so you can go there and order any of our maple syrup for yourself also. We will be getting to boil in just a couple of days, but we do still have some overstock from last year also. So go on to Etsy and order your syrup. The downfall of any kind of bucket is that they get stuck together. And these old metal buckets, you've got to keep a chisel and a hammer handy to be able to separate them without putting a hole in your bucket. And that can be hard to do. Now these buckets can be had anywhere from probably $3 to $10. You can find them used on eBay for decoration. I'd say that's what they're best suited for, because these buckets get dented up, smashed, they can have lead, the galvanized coating can be wore off, and it can just be a real pain in the butt to get them separated. The plastic buckets also can get stuck together, but I found little tricks out in the sugar bush on how to get them separated. So you want to know, to begin with, what size tap you're using. Do you have a 7/16, a 5/16? There are also new 3/16 tree saver taps. There are check valves that you can put before you put your tap in, and that will close up to not let any warmed sap in the tap or tubing go back into the tree, carrying bacteria in, causing the tap hole to close prematurely. So, different things that you might need. Besides the cordless drill and the little hammer, I keep a tape measure handy with me if we're going into a new area. I've got a lot of young trees here. There's a couple that I'm going to want to measure. It's really not recommended to go below a 10-inch tree, because you go from the tapwood into the heartwood of the tree. The younger or smaller you tap a tree, the less tappable tree surface you're going to have over the lifespan of the tree to be able to collect sap and syrup. Sometimes it's better to just wait a little longer and let that tree grow for a couple more years, because you'd be surprised at how fast these sugar maples can grow. I have got trees in our front yard that are probably 20 years, 25 years old from the time that there had been a previous building on this lot that had been grown up from seedlings, and probably last year, the year before, were the first year that some of them were tapped. And I have another small one over here that it's right on the line, and I just figured better to let that one wait, get a little stronger, get a little healthier. If you have a damaged tree, an unhealthy tree, we had a huge ice storm go through here a couple years ago, and the canopies were damaged a lot. You might want to skip those trees. Maybe you can come back to them in a year or two, or maybe it's time to just stop tapping them. Eventually you could just end up losing your lawnscaping in your yard. Now these are beautiful trees. They provide shade in the summer, shelter for the birds. They provide shelter for all the wildlife around here, and I really don't want to lose any of them, so we definitely keep an eye up on those canopies to kind of see what's going on with the health of the trees. Now you can tap lots of different kinds of maple trees, keep that in mind. I'm in central Michigan. Sugar maples and red maples are very common. Black maple, or swamp maple it's also referred to, is also very common. And silver maples. A box elder tree is also very similar. Every style of leaf is slightly different, and that's the best way you're going to know, more so than on identifying the bark. Another key element is looking for a twin-lobed sprout on your tree branch if you're not sure, meaning it has an opposite on each branch. So like if this is like a letter Y, you know, it's going to have a three-prong sprout. Every side of the branch is going to have a match. Here in the yard, I use what's called a Sap Meister Spout, and this is made to attach to maple syrup tubing. It'll also work with those sap bag holders. It's got a washer welded onto the top, and that's where your tubing is going to go, and this end's going to go into the tree, and these are 5/16 size. There is misinformation out there on tapping trees. The tapmytrees.org or .com website, that product is commonly sold through like Family Farm and Home, will tell you 2.5 inches to 3 inches on tapping a tree. That is way too far, folks. You want to go 1.5 to 2 inches. There's discrepancies, people say, on an upward angle, straight in. The general rule is do what you're comfortable with, learn from experience. I find a downward tilt or drilling at an upward angle is helpful because it's going to come out of the tree rather than get sucked back in, causing any tree damage. Now these big trees are so big, my tape measure won't even go around them. They're like 50 inches around or bigger. These can be 3 and 4 taps per tree, and these two particular trees are my sugary trees. I got 2 more over there. They produce so much sap, and it's always so sweet that if you use a refractometer, you can know your sugar content. I've got videos from last year showing how to use that, so look that up. Go to the maple syrup production playlist, go through that whole series, and watch and learn everything you can. So you're always watching for your tap holes from previous years, and you want to go 2 inches or 2 feet below another one, and any of my drop lines are 2 to 3 feet long so they can reach around a tree. And on a tree like this, I'll do 2 taps to 1 bucket to make sure that my buckets are overflowing every day. The key thing in tapping a tree is to make sure that you are getting white shavings coming out of the tree with your drill. If you're getting brown, that means you're going into stained or scar wood, scar tissue, and the sap is not going to run through there. We're running out of daylight pretty quickly. Now, if you could hear, there was a little slightly sounding thud to the hammer. Well, as always, when you're working, things come up. I got a phone call and had to stop recording, and then it was dark. So I've got my headlamp on, and I'm going around and I'm wrapping up all these trees, but look at that. This is one of my younger maples in the front yard, and it's probably about 14 to 18 inches around. It's going to get a single tap. Some of the recommendations are you can go 2 taps. They're young, they're yard decorations. I'm only going to do 1. I don't want to stress the tree. And this is the 2nd year I'm tapping it. So that's the Sap Meister stainless steel tap. I like that they're stainless steel instead of aluminum. And I like that this tubing can go on the end of it. You can also get it without the washer so that you can use it that way. I like it better with the washer because you can use a hammer to pull it off instead of the special pulling tube. But the washers do get wore out and do come off with force. So that's about it for tonight. I'm going to go around with my headlamp and finish my last couple of trees. I'll get back with you in the morning. So something to consider is how you're going to store your supplies off season. I picked up one of these Tough Totes from Menards, and it's heavy duty industrial plastic, so it can kind of take more of a beating. And it also has a nice top on it, and it's got these tabs that you can zip tie shut. That means nothing in the off season can get into there and damage your supplies. So I recommend getting one of these. These were cheaper at Menards than they were at Walmart. I had checked at Walmart and it was almost $10, and at Menards it was just under $8. So I woke up this morning, I heard buckets kicking around last night. It had gotten dark. A tip and word to the wise, I had mentioned that the sack holders, they help a lot in high wind situations. I had not weighted down any of my buckets. Normally I put a log or a heavy stone on the top of the bucket. I found I like a stone better because the dirt and moss on a log will run into the bucket and like color your buckets. But you can see just the slightest wind, they start rocking around. So I'm starting off my morning empty because most of the buckets were tipped over or blown away. If you are emptying your sap, leave enough in there to weight the bucket down. Then you don't have to have that weight on the top. And these are all snap-on lids, so you can see I leave it slightly unsnapped for pouring it off. Some of them can be really hard to open and close. The Walmart lids and Walmart buckets snap on the best, and the Menards lids. The ones at Lowe's, they're a sucker to get open, and they only fit the Lowe's bucket for the snap-on, even though they're all from the same manufacturer. Like on this tree over here, you can see I have 2 tubings going into one bucket. Those 2 trees can do really well, and I might have to put them each on a single bucket per hose. It just always kind of varies from year to year. So last year I was going over there about 3 times a day to empty my buckets. But if you don't want to have 2 holes in your lid, you can put one of these Y splitters. Let me focus here. You can put one of these Y splitters at the end of your 2 hoses or tubes to connect them to go into one tube. So this is what you would do like on a maple sap line in the woods, and you can do it to your bucket systems also. So always in the spirit of being as thrifty as possible, I only do this when absolutely necessary, because the fitting can cost, 35, 40 cents. By the 100, they're always cheaper, so you might be able to get it for 20, 25 cents. That's always good. But for up here in my maple yard, it's not worth the added expense. I don't want to have to run out, use the gas, use the time. We always try to get by with what we have, so we're not putting any Y sections in here. We have connectors and stuff to use where we're running our tubing line out on the hill in the woods, and that's it. So hopefully all my experience in maple tubing will help you in getting started, whether it's your first year or your 6th or 7th or your 10th. It's always nice to see what other people are doing in other regions of the United States and Canada with their maple syrup season. Good luck to all you. I hope you all non-scorched pans, no boil overs, no damaged syrup. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you all next time. Remember, you can go to the Etsy shop. You can get those Sap bag holders. You can get your drop lines for your buckets. You can also get your maple syrup and your honey. So get your order right now while I'm not swamped. Bye.